Chapter 81. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qiao Xiaobing and his 11 companions breezed right into Tianlao prison. With their clout, the regular jailers didn't dare try to stop them. After all, the embroidered uniform guard, the Department of Divine Investigation, and the Gongfeng Hall, each was notorious in its own right. Sure, Tianlao had a bad rep, but compared to those three brutal outfits, it seemed downright friendly. Most of Tianlao's prisoners were hauled in by those other agencies, and only the ones still breathing got sent. Here, those three outfits probably racked up 10 times the body count. First thing Qiao Xiaobing and his crew did was track down Tao Gongwang, the warden, and get him under control. They didn't know if he was in cahoots with any secret groups inside Tianlao, but better safe than sorry. What's going on here, guys? Staring at the menacing bunch in front of him, Tao Gongwang was dumbfounded. Ever since Jiang Hao landed in his prison, the warden's luck had been in the toilet. He'd been getting threatened left and right, which was a major drag, but he couldn't afford to tick off any of these guys, not just because they were muscle. Even the runt of the litter was a Dharma Image Realm powerhouse. More importantly, these guys were heavy hitters. Qiao Xiaobing, the head of the embroidered uniform guard, Wu Anbang, chief constable of the Department of Divine Investigation, Taoist Qianji, head honcho of the Gongfeng Hall, and the other 8 were the infamous 3 beasts. And 5 tigers of the embroidered uniform guard. Tao Gongwang might be the local king of the hill inside the prison walls, but outside, he was a nobody. These 11, though. They were the real deal. One word from them could ruin entire families, the top dogs from the 3 biggest enforcer agencies showing up at once. The moment Tao Gongwang recognized them, he felt lightheaded, like his dirty laundry was about to get aired. He even thought about ending it all right there. But Tao Gongwang wasn't that hardcore, so he just stood there, trembling, and stared at them. Seeing his pathetic display, Qiao Xiaobing and the others couldn't help but sneer, but they did relax their guard a little. Wu Anbang said flatly, "We need to inspect Tianlao for a bit." "Just point the way, warden." "Inspect the prison?" Tao Gongwang let out a breath, but he was still confused. "What's there to inspect?" he blurted out. Qiao Xiaobing's eyes narrowed. He gave a fake smile and asked, "You sure you want to know?" Tao Gongwang felt a chill run down his spine. He shook his head frantically. No, I don't. "Don't tell me anything, please," Qiao Xiaobing snapped. "If you don't want to know, then get moving." Right, leading the way." Tao Gongwang didn't waste any time. He scrambled to his feet and hurried ahead. He didn't know what had gotten into these guys, but discretion was the better part of valor. Leading them around was no skin off his nose, as long as they didn't want his head. So, with Tao Gongwang leading, Qiao Xiaobing and his 11 buddies started combing through Tianlao, top to bottom. As the biggest prison in the Great Zhou dynasty, Tianlao held a ton of prisoners, including some big names, but whatever they used to be, they were just inmates now, weighed down with chains and shackles, some custom-made to hold back martial arts masters. They were powerless to resist, so nobody could hide from Qiao Xiaobing and the others' spiritual senses. 11 masters above the Dharma Image Realm taking turns scanning the place. They were turning over every rock, but they went through over 10 floors and found nothing. They didn't find whatever they were looking for. Everything in Tianlao seemed normal. Nothing. Taoist Qianji looked at Qiao Xiaobing, puzzled. He'd thought this mission would be a cakewalk, but this was ridiculous. It was so easy it was almost embarrassing. Qiao Xiaobing noticed the look and his face darkened. He'd scraped and clawed to get his hands on that fortune. 30,000 gold taels worth of favors called in. He'd hoped to score a big win and impress the Empress, but it looked like he was coming up empty. He couldn't say anything, so he just glared at Wu Anbang. This was his idea. After all, Wu Anbang looked confused. "Nothing? That can't be right." He turned to Tao Gongwang, still leading the way, and asked, "How many floors are there below? How many prisoners?" As the warden, Tao Gongwang knew Tianlao like the back of his hand. He answered without hesitation. "This is the 14th floor. There are 4 more below. 16 prisoners on the 15th, 9 on the 16th, 4 on the 17th, and on the 18th. He trailed off, "Just 1. Is that one prisoner on the 18th floor the Duke of Wei? Qiao Xiaobing asked abruptly. Tao Gongwang hesitated, but he couldn't hide the truth. He nodded. Yes, it's the Duke of Weigua. Qiao Xiaobing didn't say anything. In that case, let's keep going. We're here already. We might as well check the last few floors. The others agreed. They went back to the same routine, 15th floor, 16th floor, 17th floor. They checked more carefully than before, not missing a thing. They checked if the prisoners were in disguise, and if there were any hidden rooms, but the result was the same. Nothing. It seemed there wasn't any hidden strongman from the heavenly realm at all. Before they knew it, they were outside the 18th floor, and everyone had pretty much given up, because the only prisoner on the 18th floor was the Duke of Wei, and everyone knew the Duke of Wei had zero talent for cultivation. He'd given up on martial arts and was just a weak civil servant. There was no way he was a heavenly realm powerhouse. Taoist Qinji chuckled. Looks like this old Taoist got 30,000 taels of gold for nothing. Awkward. Qiao Xiaobing sighed. Should we just head back? That he didn't want to face the Duke of Wei, but Wu Anbang wasn't ready to quit. Since we're here, why not pay the Duke of Wei a visit? Maybe he can give us a lead. Without waiting for a response, he walked forward. The others had no choice but to follow. Chapter 82. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was noon. Jiang Hao had just finished lunch and, instead of napping, was lounging in a rocking chair Tao Gongwang had provided, reading to kill time in his heavenly prison cell. Watching him so relaxed, you'd never guess he was a prisoner, at least not like the others. Qiao Xiaobing and his team couldn't help but stare, their professional instincts kicking in, sensing something was off. Then, they thought about it. After all, this was the famous Duke of Weigua, who'd been practically running things until recently and, before that, had saved the entire Great Zhou. Of course, he was different. Doesn't the Duke of Weigua need to wear shackles? One of the 3 Biao and 5 tigers blurted out. He is the Duke of Wei, another from the group explained before Tao Gongwang could answer. He's entitled to some perks. Besides, with his skill set, shackles wouldn't stop him anyway. Escape from prison? Please. Everyone nodded. A bookish guy with no fighting skills in a heavily guarded prison. He couldn't escape if he tried, so what was the point of chains? But aren't there rules? Wu Anbang asked Tao Gongwang, his face unreadable. Tao Gongwang's smile faltered. He thought for a moment. Her Majesty didn't seem to mind when she visited. Wu Anbang was at a loss for words. If even the Empress was okay with it, what could he say? He wasn't about to challenge her authority. This wasn't some level playing field, privilege was everywhere. He stepped forward and gave a respectful bow. Wu Anbang, Chief Constable of the Divine Constable Department, greets the Duke of Weigua. Despite his earlier concerns, he respected the Duke of Weigua. In fact, he'd always felt the Empress shouldn't have locked up someone so talented, but his advice had been ignored. Seeing this, Qiao Xiaobing and Taoist Qinji followed suit. Jinyui Commander Qiao Xiaobing, Qinji, Chief Worshipper of the Gongfeng Hall, greets the Duke of Weigua. The remaining members of 3 Biao and 5 Tigers didn't even rate a greeting. Reputation carried weight. This was the lingering influence of the former top dog in the Great Zhou. Even powerless now, people still hesitated to cross him. Jiang Hao sighed, put down his book, and looked up. I'm just a prisoner now. You're all important officials. No need for formalities. What brings you here? That they exchanged glances. Finally, Wu Anbang spoke. We're here because we need your help with something. All right, ask away. If I know the answer, I'll tell you. Jiang Hao was being cooperative. Wu Anbang took a deep breath, his eyes turned sharp, the interrogator returning. Jiang Hao was no longer the Duke of Weigua, just another suspect. Duke of Weigua, did you see the Archbishop of the Black Witch cult 5 months ago? Wu Anbang stared intently, searching for any tell. The others, Qiao Xiaobing included, did the same. It was like being under a dozen spotlights. Even in the dim prison, it was hard to look. Anyone else would have panicked, but not Jiang Hao. He looked genuinely puzzled. The Archbishop of the Black Witch cult. Here. I'm in prison. Her Majesty ordered no visitors. Oh, except Jiang, the Minister of Justice, he came by to inspect, but we just chatted about old times. Tao should know about that. As for the Archbishop, I'm sorry, I've never seen him. Wuanbang turned to Tao Gongwang, then continued expressionlessly. What about the Pope of the Black Witch cult, Helian Feng? The guardian of the Five Poisons cult, Wei Yilong? The incense master of the White Lotus cult, Fu Quan? Lieutenant General of the Imperial Guard, Jiang Wenhua? I suppose you haven't seen them either. No, Jiang Hao said, shaking his head. Do you know Jiang Wenhua and Jiang Wenan are brothers, and that they've secretly joined forces with the Prince of Yen? The people I just mentioned were sent by the Prince of Yen to assassinate you. So, when Jiang Wenhua visited, it was really just to reminisce? Wuanbang's eyes narrowed. Jiang Hao smiled. What else would it be? You think he was here to kill me? If so, how would I be alive right now? Wuanbang was stumped. He'd lost this round. Jiang Hao wasn't like the other prisoners he'd questioned. He was a major player, a general and a prime minister, who'd seen it all. A man like that had nerves of steel. He wouldn't flinch at a few words, wouldn't be easy to rattle, finding a weakness would be tough, unless they used certain methods, but a glance at Qiao Xiaobing and Taoist Qianji made Wuanbang abandon that thought. No one dared to touch the Duke of Wei, at least, not until he'd revealed his true colors, otherwise, they'd have the Empress to answer to. Despite being imprisoned, the Duke of Wei's relationship with the Empress was unique. No one knew what she was thinking, so no one dared to lay a hand on him. Wuanbang sighed and changed the subject. The Golden Horde envoys came here, trying to recruit you. I assume you'll deny seeing them too. But they died here, all but King Samo. Care to explain that? That question set off alarm bells for Jiang Hao. The original story was that Samo Dharma King had taken the fall for everything. As the state teacher of the Golden Horde, the Great Zhou wouldn't harm him, and the Golden Horde Khan probably had a different version of the story. They were just playing both sides, but Wuanbang must have seen through something, or he wouldn't have asked, which was understandable. Their story was full of holes. To be honest, I don't know much about it. They were fine when I saw them. I thanked the Golden Horde Khan for his attention, but explained that as a citizen of the Great Zhou, I couldn't serve another country, so I declined. But after they left the 18th floor of the heavenly prison, I have no idea what happened. And no one has bothered to tell me. No matter what they asked, Jiang Hao's answer was always I don't know. Wuanbang glared, annoyed at Jiang Hao's shamelessness. But he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't torture him. He didn't even bother asking about the head of the Imperial Observatory. He already knew what Jiang Hao would say. Suddenly, Taoist Qianji stepped forward. I've heard the Duke of Wei hasn't been feeling well. I know a little about medicine. Why don't I take this opportunity to examine him? Chapter 83. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing this, Jiang Hao turned to face Taoist Qianji. He didn't really know the guy. His personal guards were always hand-picked strongmen from the Imperial Guard. The worship hall, on the other hand, recruited from the martial arts world, and Jiang Hao didn't trust those people much. He rarely dealt with them. He'd just issue orders and someone else would pass them on. Taoist Qianji, the worship hall's chief worshipper, seemed perpetually clueless and lazy, much like Jiang Hao's current lying-flat attitude. Jiang Hao couldn't figure out why he was suddenly so eager to help. As he pondered, Jiang Hao smiled and asked, "Didn't realize you had medical skills, Taoist. How do they stack up against Imperial Physician Jiang's?" Imperial Physician Jiang. Qianji looked blank, not recognizing the name. Qiao Xiaobing chimed in, "He's the medical sage's descendant, and the Imperial Hospital's chief physician." The Taoist priest's face reddened. He was a glorified quack, at best a third-rate healer. Comparing him to a master like that was insulting. Well, I'm afraid I'm far inferior. Qianji said, embarrassed. I see. No need to trouble you, Taoist. Jiang Hao said with a smile, dismissing him. Though unspoken, everyone understood he thought Qianji's skills were too weak. Duke Weiguo was a big shot. He used to get treated by the best, like Zhang Yui. Just because he was down on his luck didn't mean any old doctor could poke around. He might accidentally kill him. Just when they thought Qianji would give up, he persisted. Everyone has their strengths. While I can't compare to Zhang Yui, I know some unique methods that might have unexpected benefits. Duke Weiguo, why not give it a shot? I said, it's not necessary. Jiang Hao snapped, his smile vanishing, staring at Qianji. As a man who once controlled millions, Jiang Hao radiated authority when he frowned. The others felt a palpable pressure, but Qianji seemed driven, determined to examine Jiang Hao, his tone firm. What if I insist on examining the Duke of Weiguo today? They locked eyes, neither willing to yield. The others sensed something was off. Qianji was acting totally unlike himself. Had he discovered something? They looked at Jiang Hao with suspicion. Duke of Weiguo, Qianji's got good intentions. Why not humor him? It can't hurt to let him take a look. Might even help, Qiao Xiaobing urged. Yeah, Qianji's always been kind and stubborn. He won't sleep if you don't let him check. Just humor him, Duke of Weiguo, Wu Anbang added. Jiang Hao looked at them, then at Qianji, and laughed. Ever hear the saying, curiosity killed the cat? Though lightly said, the word sent a chill through the room. They instinctively looked at Qianji. He took a deep breath, then said bluntly, the truth is, I learned a secret technique years ago. Using my spiritual sense, I can see a person's true depth and sense how much of a threat they pose. But with the Duke of Weiguo, the technique failed. Never happened before, they were stunned. Isn't that normal? The Duke of Weiguo is a gentleman, so naturally you won't feel threatened. Gentleman meant powerless. How could a strong man like Qianji feel threatened? But Qianji shook his head. Anything alive poses a threat, however small. Even a fly can kill at the right moment. But with the Duke of Wei, I sense nothing. Understanding dawned. They looked at Jiang Hao with newfound suspicion. He knew what was happening. The human emperor body completely suppressed his energy, while it concealed his power. It wasn't always a good thing. Like now, facing their strange looks, Jiang Hao said nothing, simply stating, seems you're determined to find out why your technique failed on me. Fine, Taoist, come and examine me yourself. But don't say I didn't warn you. People are responsible for their actions. Once you cross that line, there's no going back. Faced with Jiang Hao's threat, Qianji seemed calmer, though regret gnawed at him. If the inspection revealed something, fine, if not, he'd face the Duke of Weiguo's wrath. Even trapped in a heavenly prison, Jiang Hao had disciples, former officials, and those who owed him favors. They couldn't touch the Empress, but him. Cornered, he couldn't back down. He gritted his teeth and walked in front of Jiang Hao. Duke Weiguo, I apologize. If I'm wrong, I'll make it up to you later. Jiang Hao simply stared at him coldly, saying nothing, though the cold gaze was unnerving. Qianji placed his hand on Jiang Hao, mobilizing a trace of spiritual power. He sent it into Jiang Hao's body. As a veteran Tianren realm expert, even a tiny sliver of Qianji's spiritual power was potent. Ordinary people, even accomplished cultivators, couldn't resist its intrusion, but Jiang Hao's body seemed uniquely special. As soon as the spiritual sense entered, it dissipated. Qianji frowned, refusing to accept it. He amplified his spiritual power tenfold, ignoring the potential harm to Jiang Hao, and pushed it all in at once. This time, his spiritual sense broke through Jiang Hao's defense layer and entered, but before he could examine anything, the ray of consciousness saw a sight he would never forget. It was like entering a supreme temple, filled with stars. Brilliant divine light blazed, and terrifying power surged. Rivers of blood spread, and colossal stars shone. The roars of dragons and tigers, lions and bears, created a breathtaking display of the arcane. In an instant, his ray of consciousness was crushed to dust. He was slammed with a backlash. Not only was his consciousness severely damaged, but blood streamed from his eyes. He collapsed, clutching his eyes and screaming. Ag. Chapter 84. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master Qianji. The sudden outburst stunned Wu Anbang, Qiao Xiaobing, and the others. They'd been eagerly awaiting Master Qianji's assessment. After all, they had come with high hopes and extensive preparations, only to turn up empty-handed. This was a tough pill to swallow. Finding a lead here with Jiang Hao would have been a welcome surprise, but they never imagined Qianji would scream like that before even getting results. Seeing those bloody tears streaming down his face sent a jolt of sheer terror through them. They looked at Jiang Hao with newfound fear, like he wasn't a man but some kind of demon in disguise. Wei. Duke Wei, what did you do? Wu Anbang, trying to keep the panic at bay, stepped forward and yelled. I didn't do anything. Jiang Hao seemed unfazed. He rose slowly from the rocking chair, walked up to Qianji, and asked with a smile, what did you see? What scared you so badly? Qianji snapped his head up to face Jiang Hao, then stumbled backward, his expression shifting rapidly. He wanted to speak, but his tongue felt tied, and he was at a loss for words. He'd never experienced anything so terrifying before. He didn't know how to describe it, where to even begin. He never thought he could see something so horrifying inside a person. He covered his eyes, wiping away the constant stream of blood and tears, fighting back the overwhelming reaction to the trauma his mind had just endured. Get him. Get him now. Something's wrong with him. He shrieked. Qiao Xiaobing and Wu Anbang exchanged glances, uncertain. They still didn't understand what was happening, so how could they risk acting? But before they could decide, a deafening bang echoed through the chamber. Everyone looked up to see Qianji flying through the air, like a ragdoll. He slammed into the prison wall. The impact was so violent that blood poured not only from his eyes but also from his mouth. Jiang Hao now stood where Qianji had been. An intimidating aura radiated from him, making their hearts pound. His white clothes fluttered, and his black hair danced around him. A frightening light flashed in his dark eyes, taking their breath away. The change from the normally withdrawn Jiang Hao was total, from the inside out. He seemed like a completely different person. Wu Anbang and the others suddenly realized they'd been played. Duke Wei, Jiang Hao, wasn't some frail scholar. He possessed not just strength, but terrifying power. Stop! Seeing Jiang Hao move to strike Qianji again, Wu Anbang and Qiao Xiaobing charged forward without thinking, their faces paling. They might not have been powerhouses of the heavenly man realm, but they had achieved peak levels in the Dharma image realm. After all, they were the heads of the court's two main intelligence agencies. They needed that kind of strength to maintain control. Heavenly man realm experts were few and far between. A Dharma image realm master was as strong as they came. Experienced fighters, they knew they couldn't hold back against the dangerous Jiang Hao. They went all out. They advanced like gale force winds, surging with yuan energy and blazing with blinding light, closing on Jiang Hao like wolves. You fools! Jiang Hao scoffed, stopping in his tracks. He moved so fast he seemed to vanish. Not vanish, exactly, but his speed was beyond human perception. Wu Anbang's hair stood on end, and years of combat instinct kicked in. He dove to the side. He was quick, but not quick enough. Jiang Hao was faster. A palm struck, tearing through Wu Anbang's defenses. The raw power sent him flying over 30 feet. Qiao Xiaobing's eyes widened. He knew Wu Anbang's strength. He should have been more than a match for Jiang Hao, but he hadn't even lasted a round. Qiao Xiaobing knew he'd fare even worse. Jiang Hao turned his gaze on him. Qiao Xiaobing scrambled back, yelling, "Set up the formation. Set up the formation. Take him down together." If one-on-one didn't work, then they'd gang up on him. The 3 Biao and 5 tigers responded instantly, voices booming, focusing on themselves and using their spiritual power as a link. They activated the yuan energy within their bodies. In an instant, the 8 men became one, exuding amazing power and a faint Dharma image shadow behind them. Then their figures flickered, almost teleporting, until they encircled Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao raised his eyebrows, recognizing the rare coordinated attack formation they were performing, but before he could act, colorful streams of light shot from their hands like chains and ropes. Jiang Hao was bound tight, unable to move. Even his thoughts and yuan energy seemed sealed and imprisoned. The 8 men were formidable alone, but with the formation, their combined power was significant. They could suppress even a celestial being, or so they claimed. Seeing Jiang Hao trapped, Qiao Xiaobing finally relaxed. This is the Qinkuan Bagua formation, set up by 8 of the top Dharma image realm masters. You can't break free. Surrender. Qianquan Bagua Formation, huh? That's quite a name. Jiang Hao chuckled, then looked at the 8 men surrounding him, his eyes flashed, and all 360 acupoints in his body activated at once. The power of heaven and earth answered his call. He seemed to control the entire prison. The Qianquan Bagua Formation might hold an ordinary celestial being, but it was no match for him. With a roar, the unimaginable force of heaven and earth exploded, becoming a shockwave that ripped through the prison. The 8 men didn't have time to react before they were crushed and sent flying. Qiao Xiaobing, who had been about to step forward to savor their victory, stopped dead. Eyes wide with horror, Jiang Hao emerged unscathed, a smirk on his face. Looks like your Qianquan Bagua Formation is all hype. Chapter 85. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although they called it the Cosmos Bagua Formation with a bit of flair, it actually worked pretty well. When all 8 guys teamed up, they could trap someone, block their yuan energy, and suppress their mind. What really makes a celestial realm master tough is their transformed body and powerful mind, which lets them easily control the forces of nature. But if you trap their body and mess with their head, they can't exactly boss around the elements anymore. Plus, if you block their yuan energy, they're defenseless. So, yeah, taking down a celestial realm dude becomes a snap. Still, using this kind of trick on Jiang Hao was clearly a waste of time, because Jiang Hao wasn't your run-of-the-mill celestial realm powerhouse. Whether it was physical strength, yuan energy reserves, or mental power, he was way beyond what you'd expect. None of that could be easily shut down by just 8 Dharma Image Realm Masters, so he just went all out, juiced up the energy from all 360 acupoints, and busted right through their so-called Cosmos Bagua Formation. Qiao Xiaobing didn't catch all the details, but he understood one thing: Jiang Hao was way stronger than he thought. This is insane. This guy's terrifying. He was holding back like crazy. He's gotta be a celestial realm heavyweight. 11 of them came in, which seemed like a decent squad, but now look at how they all ended up. Taoist Qianji got screwed by his own magic, Wu Anbang got knocked aside with a slap, and his 3 tigers and 5 leopards were all messed up bad. In a heartbeat, he was the only one left standing without a scratch. Qiao Xiaobing sized himself up and felt a whole lot more hopeless, no doubt about it. Even if he went all in, he'd never beat Jiang Hao. I'm not afraid to die, but I ain't gonna die for nothing. As long as I can live to fight another day, I can always find a way for revenge. If I get out of here, I'll still be a hero. Qiao Xiaobing talked himself into it, then dropped any thought of fighting Jiang Hao. Without a word, he spun around and booked it, leaving everyone else behind, but before he could escape the cell, he heard a loud clang, then click, click. Not only did the cell door slam shut, but the iron chains and shackles locked back into place. With the kind of door the Sky Prison has and how solid those chains were, even a celestial realm powerhouse would need time to crack it open. Qiao Xiaobing didn't have that kind of time, so he could only stare, eyes wide, at that super heavy cell door in despair. Tao! Gong! Wang! Qiao Xiaobing's eyes turned bloodshot and he screamed in anger. Yep, Tao Gongwang was the mastermind behind the whole thing. Nobody took him seriously, but who knew he'd pull off something like this? First, he slipped away quietly while no one was watching. Then, he waited for the perfect moment. Once things got messy, he slammed the door shut, trapping everyone like rats. Ha ha ha, Commander Qiao, looking for the Duke of Wei? Since you're here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Tao Gongwang cackled, hands on his hips, looking like a real villain. Qiao Xiaobing was shaking with rage, hating himself for not killing this guy when he had the chance, but at that moment, Jiang Hao was already coming at him. Jiang Hao wasn't gonna waste words. In his eyes, Qiao Xiaobing was just a nobody, not even worth bothering with. The power of heaven and earth gathered in his palm, then turned into a blade of light, which slammed down directly on Qiao Xiaobing's head. Feeling the sheer power of that light, Qiao Xiaobing got the scare of his life and went all out to defend. He instantly summoned every last bit of energy he had and even forced his Dharma image into existence. This prison was tight, and Jiang Hao controlled the elements, so he couldn't get much juice even if he summoned the Dharma image. But in that moment, he didn't care. He used every trick he knew. Still, under Jiang Hao's cold blade, his defenses were as fragile as paper. With a tearing sizzle, every defense fell, and the blade slammed into Qiao Xiaobing's chest. Blood went flying. Qiao Shaobing went flying too, chopped back. Seeing this, Jiang Hao didn't show any mercy and prepared to finish him off with another strike. However, in that moment, he suddenly sensed danger and dove aside without thinking. With a loud bang, a nasty attack landed. It landed right where he'd been standing. Jiang Hao looked up and saw that Taoist Qinji had patched himself up and gotten over there somehow. He was giving off an amazing vibe, with the power of nature swirling around him. Every move he made was infused with awesome power. No longer a wreck like before, he was finally showing the real force of a celestial realm master. Jiang Hao wasn't mad, but he laughed instead. Wuanbang, Qiao Shaobing, and the others were decent fighters, but they were way too weak for him now. If he tried even a little, those two couldn't even land a single hit. Taoist Qinji, on the other hand, was different. He was a celestial realm heavyweight and a veteran. He was just the guy to spar with, so Jiang Hao could practice the Aurora sword technique he'd just learned. The green dragon sword popped into his hand from the system space, and Jiang Hao's whole aura changed. He gave off a sharp edge, like a sword freshly drawn. How could this guy? Taoist Qinji's face shifted slightly when he saw this, but before he could say anything, Jiang Hao was already attacking with all his strength, without any mercy. A series of brilliant sword strikes flashed across all 18 levels of the heavenly prison. Every strike was packed with lethal force, and the Aurora sword technique was famous for speed. It crashed down on Taoist Qinji like a storm. With Jiang Hao's cultivation, the green dragon sword in hand, and the Aurora sword technique, the power he unleashed was off the charts. Even a veteran celestial realm master like Taoist Qinji was in trouble, and his mind still wasn't healed up. In just a moment, he took several sword wounds. In a heartbeat, they traded dozens of blows, but Jiang Hao was mostly attacking, and Taoist Qinji could only block, and Jiang Hao, who was now a natural at fighting, saw an opening and popped up next to Taoist Qinji. He took advantage of the opening and swung down with his sword. With how sharp the green dragon sword was and Jiang Hao's power, that blow was a done deal. Taoist Qinji's right arm got chopped off by the sword. That instantly crushed Taoist Qinji's chance to fight. He soon fell into a pool of his blood. Taoist Qinji looked at Jiang Hao in terror, not confident anymore, and with only regret in his heart. He thought the mission was easy money, 30,000 taels of gold notes for nothing, but now it looked like that 30,000 taels was going to cost him his life. Right then, he hated Qiao Shaobing and Wuanbang. If not for those two, he wouldn't have come to the Sky Prison, wouldn't have met Jiang Hao, and wouldn't have ended up like this. Spare me, Duke Weigua. You're so generous, please spare me this time. I'll do whatever you say, I swear I'll never think twice. Taoist Qinji begged and choked. Even though he'd lived for centuries, he still didn't want to die. With his lifespan as a celestial realm master, he had half a lifetime of riches and glory to enjoy, but Jiang Hao's eyes stayed cold, not showing the slightest sign of mercy. I warned you that everyone's gotta take responsibility for their actions. You can find all kinds of medicine, but you can't buy back lost time. Remember that in your next life. But with that, Jiang Hao swung his sword. A flash of blood. Taoist Qinji's eyes went wide, showing bitter regret, but his life force slowly left him. Chapter 86. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Taoist Qinji bit the dust. Jiang Hao's sword took him down. One strike, and he was beheaded. No chance of survival. The remaining prisoners watched, and despair settled in. They'd been clinging to a sliver of hope, and that sliver was Taoist Qinji. After all, Qinji was a powerhouse, a seasoned heavenly human realm cultivator with decades under his belt. Jiang Hao, on the other hand, was about the Empress's age. No matter how much he'd been holding back or how naturally gifted he was, he couldn't have been in the heavenly human realm for long. His age gave him away. Decades of experience versus just a few years. There was a chance, a small one, that Qinji could win, and if Qinji pulled it off, they wouldn't just be rescued, they could capture Jiang Hao and score major points. Okay, maybe not that far, but they'd be satisfied if they could escape. So, they'd pinned all their hopes on Qinji, but the outcome was a crushing blow. Qinji didn't just lose, he lost his life. A renowned expert, gone without a whimper. It was depressing. Even worse, Jiang Hao had shown no mercy, even to a heavenly human realm master like Qinji. What would he do to them? Qiao Shaobing felt a surge of primal fear. realizing he might soon join Qinji in the silent embrace of death, he dropped to his knees before Jiang Hao, kowtowing frantically, "Duke Weigua, I didn't come willingly. Wu Anbang tricked me, said there was a huge secret here. He orchestrated everything, he was the ringleader. And Qinji? That old bastard was itching for a fight with you. He's no saint, trust me. He pretends to be righteous, but he's ruined countless innocent girls. He'd kill anyone to take the credit. His death is a victory for everyone. I'm innocent, I swear. I've always respected you. I didn't want to bother you, let alone go against you. They forced me to come. I had nothing to do with it. Are you done yet?" Jiang Hao snapped, clearly impatient. Qiao Xiaobing didn't dare pause, ratting faster, "Duke Weigua, please, let me go. I'm willing to serve you. I ran the Jinui for years. I know the secrets of every official in the city. If you want, I can even mobilize the Jinui to help you overthrow that tyrant. You can execute her yourself later." Seeing Qiao Xiaobing's desperation, the other 3 Biao and 5 tigers followed suit. "Duke Weigua, we can help too." "Yes, Duke Weigua, we'll follow you anywhere. Let's replace the Empress together. Duke Weigua, you can rule the great Zhou," that they all chimed in, painting a rosy picture of the future, but facing their vision, Jiang Hao remained calm. He waved his hand, his expression blank, and ordered, "Kill them all." The shadow demon, which had been lurking unseen, emerged, instantly turning into dark tendrils. They snaked around the prisoners, choking the life out of them. In moments, Qiao Xiaobing and the others were dead. Against a demon king-level opponent, already wounded and weakened, they stood no chance. Only Wu Anbang remained, staring in disbelief. Seeing the shadow demon and its bizarre abilities, he suddenly understood everything, like, why the Black Witch cult's archbishop targeted Jiang Wen'an. And who the strange heavenly human realm expert in the prison was, and why the director of the Imperial Observatory, long dead, walked into his office like a living man before collapsing. The shadow demon answered all those questions, but seeing the corpses scattered around, Wu Anbang could only manage a bitter smile. Now that he knew the truth, what did it matter? He was trapped, about to die, and the secret would die with him. "Duke Weigua, you played this brilliantly. Everyone was fooled. I never suspected you were the one pulling the strings." Wu Anbang said, shocked. "Pulling the strings?" Jiang Hao frowned, then shook his head. "You might not believe it, but I was only trying to protect myself. But some people are determined to die." He paused, his gaze fixed on Wu Anbang. "Like you, isn't that right?" That Wu Anbang opened his mouth, wanting to argue, but words failed him. It was like a sudden realization had hit him. They'd been the ones pushing for death from the start. If he hadn't insisted on investigating the prison, if he hadn't pushed to visit Jiang Hao on the 18th floor, if Qinji hadn't been so insistent on examining Jiang Hao, if he and Qiao Xiaobing hadn't seen an opportunity and pushed Jiang Hao to accept Qinji's examination, they'd been digging their own graves. Jiang Hao had done nothing but tolerate them, trying to reason with them, but they wouldn't listen. It was the ultimate irony. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. This is so true. Wu Anbang said bitterly, looking at Jiang Hao. "Do it." But Jiang Hao didn't move. He hesitated, then asked, "Are you willing to do something for me?" That Wu Anbang's head snapped up. He blinked, thinking he'd misheard. After all his wrongdoings, without kneeling and begging like Qiao Xiaobing and the others, Jiang Hao was offering him a way out. Why? Wu Anbang couldn't help asking, confusion clouding his eyes. "You killed them all, why spare me?" "Because you have talent. They were just scum." Despite Wu Anbang's central role in the whole mess, Jiang Hao saw something different in him. In fact, it was precisely because of that role that Jiang Hao had taken notice. Besides, Wu Anbang was upright and devoted to his duties. In Jiang Hao's eyes, he was a diamond in the rough. Facing Jiang Hao's intense gaze, Wu Anbang felt a flicker of hope and a hint of hesitation. He knew that a nod could save his life and possibly lead to a promising future, but the hesitation was brief. He forced the idea down. He wanted to live, but his character wouldn't allow it, just as he couldn't bring himself to beg for mercy like Cao Xiaobing. Duke Weigua, please, just end it. With that, Wu Anbang closed his eyes. Jiang Hao sighed, understanding his choice. There were always people who clung to their beliefs, no matter what. Wu Anbang was undeniably loyal, though perhaps not to the Empress or the Great Zhou, but to his own ideals, unwavering for decades. Jiang Hao didn't try to persuade him. He raised his sword, a flash of steel, and Wu Anbang breathed his last. Chapter 87. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Duke Wei, you want me to take care of these bodies? Seeing things had wrapped up, Tao Gongwang slipped back into the cell, his face all smiles, and asked Jiang Hao, by take care of, he meant the usual, stuff em in sacks, cremate em somewhere, and poof, gone, bodies gone, no one's the wiser. Jiang Hao just looked at the guy, too annoyed to even say anything. Total bully the weak, fear the strong type. If you get rid of all these bodies, what's the story going to be later? Jiang Hao asked. Tao Gongwang's smile vanished. He finally realized these weren't the usual dead guys, the others. Nobody was supposed to know they existed. Get rid of the bodies, end of story. No one would come looking, but Cao Xiaobing and his crew. People saw them enter the prison. Vanishing from inside. The court would be all over him. No excuse would cut it. So, what do you think we should do? Tao Gongwang, now sweating, looked to Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao was starting to get a headache himself. Killing them was the easy part. Cleaning up the mess. That was the problem. These weren't just any Zhous. Wu Anbang ran the whole Shenbu division. Taoist Qianji was the head honcho of the Gongfeng Hall. Cao Xiaobing and his goons were the Jinyui. He'd just taken out the top dogs of the court's three biggest enforcers. Any one of them disappearing would raise eyebrows. All of them. The whole place would freak. These guys are a pain in the ass. Jiang Hao growled. Their high profiles were why he hadn't wanted to do this in the first place. He'd hoped they'd just back off, but no, they had to come looking for trouble. Once Jiang Hao acted, he wasn't going to hold back. But now, what to do with the bodies? I think this is a job for you. Jiang Hao looked at the shadow demon. The shadow demon didn't object. It was used to this sort of thing, but seeing the hacked-up bodies? Not a happy camper. Master, can you please stop chopping heads off all the time? Makes my job way harder. Jiang Hao cringed. It was his fault. My bad. I'll keep it in mind for next time. Luckily, Tao Gongwang was there to help. The guy might be a pushover, but he had skills. Even sewing corpses back together, with his help, the bodies were soon back in one piece. Then, the shadow demon split itself into 11. 11 shadows dived into the 11 bodies, and just like that, the corpses opened their eyes. They were alive again. Tao Gongwang watched, jaw dropped. Under Tao Gongwang's guidance, the shadow demon controlled the 11 corpses, making them look like real people, and they walked out of the prison in broad daylight. The shadow demon led the 11 bodies back to their respective yamen, then slipped away. It wasn't going to stay quiet for long. Wu Anbang, the head of the Shenbu division, was found that night. Then came Cao Xiaobing and the Jinyui. Taking out the top guys like that. Once one body was found, it was only a matter of time. Finally, Taoist Qianji from the Gongfeng Hall. He was the last to be discovered, but that was only because it was the next morning. Overnight, the heads of the court's three main police forces all died in their offices. The whole capital went nuts. The three agencies were known for giving trouble, not receiving it. Who would dare mess with them? But here they were, leaders dead in their own offices. These guys weren't just important, they were tough as nails. Each one a Dharma image realm expert. Taoist Qianji was even a heavenly man realm master. They were killed without a sound, but the Empress wasn't around, leaving the ministers clueless. Finally, the buck landed on the new Minister of Justice. Everyone figured it was because he was the least experienced. I mean, justice guys are supposed to be good at this. Sir, what do we do? Inside the Ministry of Justice, the underling stared at the 11 bodies laid out in the hall and looked at the minister, who was trying to figure out what to do. The new minister, who had replaced Jiang Wenan, looked worried. He knew the danger of this case. The victims were not just anyone, and for all of them to die in one night. The killer was not ordinary. Taoist Qinji's death alone proved the killer was a heavenly man realm expert. It's likely it wasn't just one or two people, but a whole organization. How could he, a rookie minister of justice, handle this? To be blunt, if they found nothing, he would be fine. But as soon as something came up, his time as minister would be over. He'd end up as cold as the bodies on the floor, but the case was on his desk. He hesitated, then made up his mind. First, someone report this to His Majesty and ask for instructions. Second, get everyone to investigate. And I mean investigate. No half-assing it. Understand? No fishing for 3 days and drying the net for 2. The minister warned. The underlings understood. Yes, sir. Leave it to me. I'll watch them myself. This case will be fully investigated. We won't miss a thing. At least a year and a half before we close it. The minister smiled and nodded. Good man. A year and a half is too long. A few months is enough. Things were moving too fast. Who knew what would happen in a few months? Stuff was already happening every month. He figured after a few months, this thing would be old news, then they'd pin it on some poor sap and call it done. Chapter 88. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Eastern edge of the Great Zhou, at a fortified border city, Empress Ji Luoyao remained unaware of the turmoil brewing back in the capital. Donning military garb, she surveyed the city's defenses alongside a retinue of military and civil officials. Her journey had been swift, and to make good time, she'd only brought 4 with her, but these weren't just anyone. Besides the 2 trusted leaders of the Imperial Guards, there was Tai Wuk, her newly appointed chief bodyguard. Indeed, all 3 were powerhouses at the celestial human level. Rounding out the group was an old eunuch, a fixture in the palace who'd served 3 emperors and now held the title of chief eunuch. Remarkably, this wizened servant was also a celestial human realm master, including the Empress herself. Their party of 5 represented a formidable force, each member a celestial human master. Upon reaching the border fortress, Ji Luoyao promptly sought out General Zhendong, commander of the 300,000 elite border troops, for a little chat. Like many border generals, Zhendong had been known for his arrogance and defiance. After all, commanding 300,000 soldiers and possessing celestial human power put him in the world's elite. Such a person had the right to be arrogant, but after a friendly sparring session with Ji Luoyao, where he was thoroughly bruised and battered, he promptly adjusted his attitude. It wasn't just about facing Ji Luoyao, the queen of Great Zhou. Even his most loyal officers wouldn't dare defy her. The Empress and her 4 celestial human-level guardians could take his head any time they wanted. His safety was not guaranteed, so he didn't dare cause any trouble. Your Majesty, following your decree, soldiers from neighboring provinces have been arriving steadily. We now have 600,000 troops assembled at the fortress. While still short of the Demon God Empire's million-strong army, the defensive advantages of the city and its equipment closed the gap considerably. I can't promise miracles, but with sufficient supplies, holding off the Demon God Empire for a year or 2 should be feasible. General Zhendong vowed. Ji Luoyao considered his words, then promised, as long as you lead the army to repel the Demon God Empire, the court will be generous with rewards. Titles of nobility are only the beginning. We can even discuss letting your family rule this territory for generations to come. General Zhendong was stunned. The duke title was achievable through great service, so that was doable, but the notion of guarding the Eastern Territory in perpetuity was beyond his wildest dreams. After all, wasn't that practically being a king? In fact, with the emperor far away, he would have more freedom than a vassal king, able to make all decisions, big or small. More importantly, the court's backing would ensure the land would pass down to his descendants. This was too tempting. He drew a deep breath, his voice trembling slightly. Raising his head, he blurted out, Your Majesty, is that really true? Ji Luoyao met his gaze, smiled, and declared, The emperor doesn't jest. The entire army is witness. Normally, she wouldn't make such a promise. Non-royals weren't allowed to be kings, and that was Great Zhou tradition. Even Jiang Hao, with all his achievements, only became a duke. But Great Zhou now faced internal and external crises, threatening the court's stability. Change was necessary to prevent the empire's demise, while her promise might create future problems. It solved the problem at hand, as expected. Hearing the Empress's guarantee filled General Zhendong with fervor, and he became eager to clash with the demons. The court's foundation was one thing, but his own was another. It altered his entire perspective. Beating his chest, he vowed, "Your Majesty, have no worries. We'll fight until our last breath. Unless I fall, those demon whelps won't cross this border." As if on cue, deafening war drums echoed and shouts of battle surged. Boom, boom, boom. Startled, everyone turned to look beyond the city walls. Dense masses of demonic soldiers advanced towards the great Zhou fortress. In fact, the pureblood demons looked almost human, but their demonic blood made them taller and stronger. The demons were fierce, and their assembled army was even more terrifying. Their only flaw was poor discipline, especially with thousands massed together. The scene appeared chaotic, but their bravery and combat skills outweighed the drawbacks. This large, aggressive army surged forward. The roaring demon soldiers advanced like a tidal wave, and even from afar, the sight sent shivers down one's spine. In the blink of an eye, the overwhelming force reached the fortress. Powerful demons howled and charged towards the city walls, ignoring the heavily fortified defense, seeking death. Ji Luoyao's eyes turned cold. Wishing to assert her authority before the troops, she channeled her power and soared into the sky. With an unseen wave of her consciousness, a nearby general's spear instantly flew into her hand. Infused with her formidable yuan power, the ordinary weapon became a divine instrument. Bursting with tremendous force, the spear flashed like black lightning. A dozen powerful monsters were instantly impaled and fell like dumplings. The great Zhou soldiers erupted in cheers, their morale soaring. Ji Luoyao didn't relent. Grasping the spear, she plunged into the enemy ranks. Wherever she went, the enemy fell. As a celestial human, she commanded the power of heaven and earth. Ordinary demon soldiers' attacks were mere tickles, unable to pierce her defenses. Even demon generals who could rival extraordinary humans couldn't last a round against her. Seeing her unstoppable rampage, the demon king-level expert sitting in the demonic army would not stand by. Realizing this was the Queen of Great Zhou, and recalling the demon king's mission, their eyes burned like fire, as if they were staring at their father's murderer. Fury consumed them. She is the Queen of Great Zhou. She killed the 3 Penkings. To ensure the demon race is never enslaved, she must die. With such a treacherous foe, ethics don't matter. All attack together. The Demon King experts exchanged glances. They reached a consensus. The next second, they soared into the air, charging towards Ji Luoyao at incredible speed. 5 demon masters attacked at once. Abandoning all pretense of honor, they unleashed their innate powers. Terrifying beams of light flashed across the sky, and before Ji Luoyao could react, she was engulfed by a wave of energy. Chapter 89. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In that instant, Ji Luoyao was thrown for a loop. Anything can happen on the battlefield, sure, but she hadn't expected these powerful demons to be such cheap shot artists. 5 demon king-level powerhouses ganging up on her. Fine, but what she didn't see coming was them immediately busting out their innate magical powers. Talk about low blows. Those abilities are like the ultimate attack. You usually only get one per fight. You save it for when your back's against the wall. After all, without that trump card, you might just end up flatlined when things get hairy. So who opens with the big guns? Well, she just ran into 5 guys who apparently didn't get the memo. Before she could even react, she was rocked by their attacks and swallowed up in a maelstrom of raw energy. Any other Tianren realm expert would have been toast, but Ji Luoyao is no ordinary Tianren realm expert. For starters, she's got the body of a human king, making her tougher, more resilient, and just plain better than your average fighter. Plus, as Empress of the Great Zhou dynasty, Ji Luoyao isn't messing around. She's packing heat. When you size up a martial arts master, sure, their training matters. But weapons and gear are a game changer, like how Jiang Hao mopped the floor with Taoist Qianji. Yeah, skill played a part, but Jiang Hao was also swinging the Qingjiao sword, a killer top-tier treasure. Ji Luoyao's even more locked and loaded. Not only is her armor top of the line, but she's also got a bunch of super rare protective charms. When things get dicey, those charms automatically throw up a shield of light to keep her safe from incoming damage, so, while the sudden attack by those 5 Demon King level masters caught her off guard, it wasn't a kill shot, she was wreathed in light, rocketing out of the energy blast. Meanwhile, the great Zhou forces saw Ji Luoyao in trouble. Especially the 4 great Tianren realm masters who'd come with her from the capital, they hauled ass in her direction. Trouble was, they were too far away, and the battlefield was a traffic jam, slowing them down. The 5 Demon King level masters, though, were right on top of Ji Luoyao. They saw she was alive and kicking, and their jaws hit the floor. They'd gone straight for the nuke, and she was still standing. She really is a human emperor body, thought at that moment. They were even more convinced they'd sized her up right. No way she'd have survived that otherwise, which meant they absolutely could not let her slip away. This was their shot. Who knows when they'd get another crack at her. Let her human emperor body fully mature, and they'd be nothing but a snack for her. The whole demon race would be flattened under her heel. Thinking about that, their bloodlust went into overdrive. Kill her. Throw everything you've got. Don't let her escape. Roaring, the 5 Demon King level powerhouses went berserk, hitting Ji Luoyao with all they had. They didn't care if they lived or died. They were gonna take her down with them. Enough was enough. Ji Luoyao had never been one to turn the other cheek. She was pissed, eyes blazing. They think they can push her around. Sure, one-on-one, she couldn't take all 5 Demon Kings. Human king body or not, she'd only just leveled up, but she didn't waltz onto the battlefield empty-handed. That top-tier armor and those protective treasures were just part of the equation. Human Emperor sword, get over here. That with a shout, Ji Luoyao chucked her spear, then raised her hand. The next second, the air went crazy, and the ground shook. A blinding golden light seemed to burst from nowhere, so bright you couldn't look at it. In a flash, the light ripped through the void and slammed into Ji Luoyao's hand, turning into a golden, mystical sword. The sword radiated a terrifying pressure, way beyond anything a regular heavenly realm fighter could produce. The moment it appeared, it became the center of the whole damn war. It even outshone the Empress herself, sending chills down everyone's spines. No ordinary treasure could put out that kind of energy. Not even the best of the best, and this sword wasn't ordinary. It was something beyond top tier, a relic passed down in the Ji family of the Great Zhou for centuries. It was the sword of the Ji family's founder, the one who started the Great Zhou dynasty. It was called the Human Emperor Sword. Legend had it, only a human emperor body could truly wield it. Ji Luoyao might not be a human emperor body, but she was a human king body. Plus, she had the Ji family blood in her veins. And after years of research, the family had figured out how she could tap into some of the sword's power. You're nothing but demons. Daring to commit treason? I sentence you to death. Ji Luoyao stood tall, sword in hand, looking like a god come down to earth. The demon clan masters were rattled, some of them almost felt like bowing, but Ji Luoyao wasn't about to play nice. She poured her power into the human emperor sword. As the energy flowed, the sword came to life, its power exploding. Crap. Stop her. The 5 Demon King level masters felt a threat like they'd never felt before and shouted the order. Every demon clan master within range charged at Ji Luoyao. Magic and martial arts rained down. You think your little sparks can compete with the sun? Ji Luoyao sneered, not giving their attacks a second thought. She just gently waved the human emperor sword. A horrifying blade of light, hundreds of feet long, ripped out. Those demon clan masters charging her were like moths to a flame. No matter how strong they were instantly wiped out. In that instant, at least hundreds of demon clan masters in the extraordinary realm bought the farm. Finally, that terrifying light slammed into the 5 Demon King level masters. They teamed up to block it, but they couldn't. All 5 of them took massive damage. The Demon King level master in the middle was sliced in two by the leftover energy. For a moment, the whole battlefield went silent. Everyone stared at the Queen of Great Zhou standing in the sky, sword in hand, their eyes wide with terror. Chapter 90. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a day and a night, the war was finally over. The Great Zhou emerged victorious. At least 100,000 demon soldiers were killed, the wounded, those who fled, and the captured were countless. The once powerful army of the Demon God Empire lost nearly half its troops in this single battle, and that's just the rank and file. Their officers also took heavy losses. Even the 5 demon kings leading the million-strong army were down too. Ji Luoyao killed one outright, Tai Wuk and the others chased down the other. The remaining 3 barely escaped with the demon king's help, but they were all seriously wounded, especially the human emperor sword. That blow went deep. Even with a demon king's healing abilities, they'd be out of commission for at least a year, mostly because Ji Luoyao didn't pursue them. Otherwise, those 3 wouldn't have stood a chance, but she couldn't. Her strength only allowed for one strike with that sword. That's why she hadn't summoned it from the start. The human emperor sword is ridiculously powerful. One swing wiped out hundreds of elite soldiers, seriously wounded 5 demon kings, and cleaved another in half. It's a terrifying weapon, but activating it takes a huge toll. It's too much for Ji Luoyao right now. After using it once, she's defenseless, so she can't just pull it out willy-nilly. Urgent message from the capital, Your Majesty. Ji Luoyao barely had time to celebrate her victory before Tai Wuk rushed over with a sealed letter. Seeing it, she felt a sudden, inexplicable dread. She took the letter and broke the seal. A moment later, all joy vanished, and her face darkened visibly. Wu Anbang, Chief Constable of the Divine Constable Department, dead. Qianji Taoist, Head of the Worship Hall, dead. Qiao Xiaobing, Commander of the Jinyui, along with his top men, dead. 11 of the court's top enforcers, all dead overnight. The cause of death was unknown. Ji Luoyao trembled with rage, radiating palpable anger. It wasn't just the loss of 11 powerful individuals. Although their absence was a blow, it wasn't enough to throw the entire Great Zhou court into disarray or make her lose control. The real issue was their positions. They weren't just strong, they were heads of the 3 most important law enforcement agencies. The Jinyui kept an eye on officials and gathered intelligence. The Divine Constable Department dealt with gangs, thieves, and other criminals. The Worship Hall handled assassinations and martial arts masters. Each department had a unique and vital function, especially now. In these turbulent times, they were crucial for maintaining order. But with all 3 heads gone, the departments would be thrown into chaos. Even if she appointed replacements immediately, it would take time for them to settle in and for things to run smoothly again. The fallout would be much worse than expected. The already shaky state of the Great Zhou would likely worsen. How could Ji Luoyao not be furious? She was out here risking her neck, winning battles, only to come home to this. She seethed, but anger wouldn't solve anything. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. She looked up at Tai Wuk, seeming to have an idea. She handed him the letter. Read this. Tai Wuk looked confused, but took the letter without question. He saw the line, Wu Anbang died. His eyes widened. The usually stoic Tai Wuk visibly paled. Wu Anbang was his adoptive father, the man who'd raised him from childhood and supported him all the way. He was more than just an adoptive father, he was the most important person in his life. Your Majesty, I beg permission to return to the capital and investigate this, Tai Wuk said, his voice grim. I was planning on it. Ji Luoyao looked toward the demon camp in the distance. They had lost the recent battle, but the million-strong demon army still had over half its forces. More importantly, the demon king himself was there. Despite his age, no one doubted his power. He had ruled the demon god empire for centuries and was one of the most terrifying beings alive. Even Ji Luoyao, proud as she was, wouldn't dare face him without the human emperor sword. So, despite her worries about the capital, she had to stay at the border. She was the only one who could hold the demon king back. Go back and find Prince Duan. He'll handle this. Ji Luoyao told Tai Wuk. Yes, Your Majesty. Tai Wuk bowed and disappeared into the night. Meanwhile, in the demon camp, a similar conversation was taking place. The subject, Empress Ji Luoyao. The demon king looked at the 3 pale and weakened demon kings with sorrow, not for them, but for the 2 who died. The demon god empire had recently lost 3 demon kings, including King Peng. Now, 2 more, 5 in such a short time. That hadn't happened in years. Even the mighty demon god empire couldn't sustain losses like that. He hadn't known Ji Luoyao would secretly rush to the battlefield. Had he known, he would have come sooner. He could have stopped them, and those 2 wouldn't have been sacrificed, but it was too late. Are you sure the queen of the great Zhou is the human emperor, that the demon king asked? The three demon kings looked at each other and answered in unison, 100% the human emperor, that the demon king was surprised. Why are you so certain? She withstood attacks from all five of us using our innate magical powers without a scratch. That's not normal. And the sword she wields is incredibly powerful. We believe it's the legendary human emperor sword. Only the human emperor can wield that sword. She has it now, and it's terrifyingly powerful. If she isn't the human emperor, then who is? The demon king couldn't argue with that. If she wasn't the human emperor, who was? It seemed their earlier assessment had been correct. The queen of the great Zhou was the human emperor. Now, the demon king believed it.